Over the last couple of videos, we have talked about supplements that are worth considering during perimenopause and menopause. So maybe you've now decided you'd like to try one, and then you walk into your supplement aisle or you start scrolling online, and suddenly you're faced with hundreds of choices, and they all promise to be the best. So how do you know which one is worth buying? So today we're going to take a closer look at what to look for. So before you buy your next bottle of supplements, you want to ask yourself these 6 questions. So the first question you want to ask, is it third-party tested? Did you know that the supplement industry isn't regulated in the same way as medications are? So the FDA doesn't check that what's actually in the bottle before it hits the shelf. So what's on the label and what's in the bottle aren't always the same. How do you really know what you're getting? You're going to look for third-party testing. Now, an independent lab that's not part of the supplement company itself does what we call third-party testing to verify that what's on the label matches what's in the bottle and that it's free of contaminants like heavy metals or unlisted ingredients. You want to look for a seal from NSF, USP, or consumer lab. One of these on the bottles means it's been tested by an independent third-party lab, so you're not just trusting the company's word for what's actually in it. And these companies actually have searchable databases on their website. Now, no seal doesn't automatically mean it's a bad product, but it does mean that you're taking the company's word alone. And then your next question, does the label actually tell you what's in it? Now, supplements may hide behind something like a proprietary blend, a complex, or a formula, and that means the company has lumped a whole bunch of ingredients together under one name and one total dose without telling you how much of each ingredient is actually in there. So you see 6 ingredients on the label, but if they don't tell you how much of each one is in there, you really don't know what you're getting. You could be getting enough to actually have an effect, or you could just barely be getting a trace. What you want instead is a full disclosure label, one that's going to list each ingredient separately with its own dose right next to it. So the next time you're in your aisle, flip the bottle around, and if you see the words blend or complex, that's your cue to look closer. And if you can't find individual amounts anywhere, put it back and keep looking. So your next question, is it using the form that's actually been studied? So there's different forms of a nutrient, and all of them are going to act differently in your body. So take magnesium, for example. There's magnesium oxide, citrate, glycinate, and they don't all work the same. So magnesium oxide is cheap to produce, so it's in a lot of the budget supplements, but your body barely absorbs it. Magnesium glycinate absorbs well and is gentler on your stomach. So you can have 2 bottles that say the same magnesium on the front label, but they may not work the same. So don't just look at the nutrient name, but look at the form that's listed on it after the ingredients. All right, now your next question, is it a realistic dose? With vitamins and minerals, you'll often see a percentage on the label. So you may see 100% of the daily vitamin percent, sometimes 2,000 or more. And it's easy to look at these big numbers and assume more must be better, right? But more is not automatically more effective. And with some nutrients, too much can actually be harmful. Your body only needs so much, and depending on the nutrient, taking more than you need may not add any benefit and can sometimes cause problems. Those huge percentages might look impressive, but they don't necessarily mean that you're getting a better supplement. With herbs and proprietary blends, it often goes the other way. There's no daily value listed to compare it to, so you don't really know what is even in there enough to do anything. Now, with herbs and proprietary blends, it often goes the other way. There's no daily value listed to compare it to, so you don't really know whether what's in there is even going to do anything. Companies know that that ingredient is important, so they'll add it to the label, but sometimes in only a small fraction of the amount that's actually been studied. Often to help keep the cost down, and because there's no percentage to raise an eyebrow at, it's easy to just trust that the amount in there matters. So don't just look at what's in it, but look at how much. Next question, what else is in the bottle? So you've checked the ingredient, the form, and the dose, but there's usually a lot more in that bottle than the ingredient that you just came for. So take a look at your other ingredients list. And that's where you're going to find fillers, binders, colors, and even sweeteners that are going to be used to make the capsule or the tablet. And some of what is added is just there to make it look or taste a certain way and has nothing to do with whether it actually works. But it's really worth paying attention to because some of these can cause digestive issues, bloating, allergic reactions, headache, or even a mood or energy shift. So it's important if you're sensitive to things like gluten, dairy, soy, because they sneak those into the other ingredient list without you realizing it. So the next time, don't stop at that front label, turn your bottle around and read the ingredients list. Your last question, are the claims too good to be true? So if a supplement is promising to cure something, reverse aging, melt fat overnight, or even fix every single symptom you're dealing with, that's a red flag and a reason not to buy. Now, supplements can absolutely support your body, but they cannot cure disease, and no single ingredient is going to fix everything at once. So if it sounds too promising, it probably is. So watch for words like miracle, cure, guaranteed, detox. These are marketing words, not medical ones, and the real research doesn't talk that way. Now, hopefully you feel a little more confident the next time you're standing in the supplement aisle or you're scrolling online. Instead of being overwhelmed by all the choices, you'll know what to look for and what questions to ask before spending your money. One more thing, even if you know what to look for in a quality supplement, that doesn't necessarily mean it's the right supplement for you. So some supplements can interact with medications or may not be appropriate if you have certain health conditions. Before adding something new, especially if you're taking prescription medications or managing a chronic health condition, it's worth checking in with your healthcare provider. Now, we've talked about a lot of different supplements in this series, but you might be looking at your cabinet or your supplement drawer thinking, I still have a lot of bottles in here that we haven't talked about. Things like herbal supplements and natural remedies are incredibly popular during perimenopause and menopause. So in the next video, we'll take a closer look at some of the most common ones, what they're used for, and what research says, and whether they're worth considering. And if you're feeling overwhelmed and wondering where to start, let's sit down together. We'll look at the whole picture and create a plan that makes sense for your body and your symptoms and your goals, because you get to do midlife your way. If you'd like to work through it together, you can schedule a time to meet with me using the link in the description.